and you got to keep in mind, I teach humanities, so I have all of your students. I don't just have a certain degree. So here's what they said. Try your best to have every student get and be involved. I would like better communication between faculty and students, more class interaction. I think the faculty should be more assertive and communicate with their students. Personal class environments are best when teachers can identify with students and vice versa, sharing stories and tie that into what we're learning about. In-class discussions on what we thought about and viewed as the topic. The videos really helped me. I understand that some people are audible learners, but the majority of students don't care about the PowerPoints. The movement you start is the movement we zone out. Or the moment you start is the moment we zone out. Personally, I think it helps to have the whole class involved with our opinions and everything else. I need application of knowledge. There needs to be interaction. Make sure they don't teach by raw course materials alone. Interact with students and get their participation. Part of the discussion I need to have is doing projects. Incorporate more teaching styles in class. A lot of my classes are purely lecture. Give me activities that I won't tune out of. I would like the professor to remember that we have other classes and we need to have activities. Students are not always auditory learners. Give a broad principle in the beginning, then break it down and provide examples are very effective. Going from multiple ideas, then expecting students to come up with a consensus is not the way to go at all. They may not be paying attention or know what one is talking about. Not all students learn by looking at a screen or listening to you. Find a way to get us talking. The more we get comfortable with our own opinions and the ones around us, the easier it will be to retain the information you want us to. I would like to see teachers be more interactive without having an assignment behind everything that's being taught. That takes away from the joy of learning. Long lectures with no interaction or example is also a great way to put the class to sleep. Also, have a variety in sessions besides doing everything the same way. Everyone learns differently, and other professors don't ever deviate from how they are comfortable teaching. Every person learns differently, so have different options for homework, not the same thing over and over. Projects that incorporate what is being taught for practical purposes. I would like faculty to check and make sure we're understanding the material without destroying our grade. Small tests are better than cumulative ones, and to do some type of work to review what I've learned. I think there should be less lecturing. Teachers should get more involved. Do not rely on tests all the time. I appreciate learning when it's fun, not when I have to cram for a test. When I'm up out of my seat doing something, lectures and PowerPoints will not help a majority of the students. Illustrations and stories, less lectures, and more interactive learning. More interactive and opening to helping students. Don't make tests the most important thing. We never learn anything that way. Doing things with our hands, doing visual things, not just reading or hearing information. When I learn something I can immediately apply to my life, lectures are dry. When we're asked to participate, do things that keep the class engaged, like having more discussions. Lower the amount of tests being the most important, and let us do things to help our grade. Stop giving us tests where literally we know nothing at all. It feels like they're out to get us and ruin our GPAs. I like that one. I learn best when I'm doing something. Tests and exams are effective, but there are more effective ways to evaluate a student's absorption of what he or she is being taught. Go beyond the traditional lecture all the time. Be more intent on getting students to learn. I have classes now where I would say teachers don't care, and they just lecture and read off the PowerPoints, going through the motions of giving weekly quizzes and tests. I'd be a lot more motivated to do the work and learn if teachers were more passionate. Visual aids and hand-on activities. Professors need to weigh grades towards projects and homework rather than based off tests. I still think tests are necessary, but grades should reflect the knowledge we can write or put into an essay rather than what we can memorize and cram for on test. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a theme going on. And this is 50 of your students in every single major across the board. And they're all saying the same thing. They weren't looking at each other's work. They weren't talking about it. They didn't know I was going to give it to them. I just handed it to them. So we have to at least listen to it. I mean, if you care about your students and you care about what they're thinking in their heads, if you notice, they want to do something. They want to apply something. That is the generation that we're in. They're so used to doing something. They're not used to just sitting there and listening to something. They tune out, and I'm going to get into that. So, the net generation. Disinterest is common to the net generation. In this nation, 1 in 3 students drops out of school, and almost 2 in 3 students are continuously disengaged in the classroom learning. Not to mention only, get this one, 28% persist in college past their sophomore year. That is horrible. And that's because they don't care. We got to make them care. Professors need to understand that their customers are those students. And I know we don't like to think of it as a business because, they went through the money thing yesterday, and I'm obviously not going to get into that. But, they really are our customers, and if we're not giving them a quality package, why would they stay here? California is notorious for transferring. So we have to give them a reason that what they get at San Diego Christian College is way better than what they're going to get anywhere else. What do your students want and need? Relationship building, emotional triggers, and career relevance. So what about learning, right? That's what we care about. We're teachers. We want to know that they're actually learning. People usually forget 90% of what they learn in class within 30 days. The majority of this forgetting occurs within the first few hours of class. And here's the crazy thing. They go into your class, and then they go like 10 minutes later, they're in another class learning something else. So the statistics on how much they're actually going to retain is very small. But I do have hope for us. Just hang in there with me. The human brain can hold up to about 7 pieces of information for less than 30 seconds. If something does not happen that short stretch of time, the information becomes lost. So we have to do something with it so that it'll actually stay in their brain. Encoding is the first step in creating a memory. To encode a memory properly, people must first be paying attention. So we got to get them so they actually pay attention so that they'll actually might remember it. Okay? And some of that comes through passion. If you've been teaching a long time and you're not passionate about your subject anymore, go find something that'll make you passionate about it. I was just talking to Nolly yesterday, and she was talking about how she's doing a new class. And that's cool, right? You get passionate about it because it's brand new information. She's doing something different. And maybe you've just been doing the same syllabus for so long, you just don't care about it anymore. So you get up and you don't care about it. And if you don't care, they don't care, right? So sometimes it's about reviving you a little bit, doing something new. Find a new story that you have never done, change it up. All right, so are we just wasting time? Because it seems like it, right? They're not really getting in it. 90% of them are going to, it's just gone. Well, the instructor is no longer the sage on the stage in the classroom and lecture halls. Often serves multiple roles through interactions with students that include teacher, mentor, and advisor. Now, I like this one the best, mentor, because I feel like that we have the opportunity at San Diego Christian College to mentor students, to do something amazing in their life. Life change, that's what my title of this whole thing was about, how to get to life change. We all come in here experts. We all have something in our field that we know how to do because we learned it in college or we did it in a I know, like she actually works, practice, right? So she's an expert in her field. We all have that. But beyond being an expert, there's this whole other thing that's education that we don't always get. We just, are expected to teach, and we're not taught that like maybe K through 12, where, they have to go through educational courses. And so what do we do with that? So the biggest question is lecture. If you are one of those people that they were talking about on here, I don't know who you are, you know who you are. If you're only lecturing, you are just teaching. But if you're giving them application, they are learning. Because if they're just teaching at them, you're teaching at them. They are not going to remember it. That 90%, gone. So you just spent an hour, that means 10 minutes of your hour, they may actually possibly remember for 7 days. And then that's gone too. So if you want them to actually learn it, they have to do it. They have to apply it. It can't just be noise. It can't be something that's just thrown at them. And you heard from their things. I want to do something with it. I want to know that it's doing something in my life, that it's producing something. That's what they want. And that's what you have to give them. So I don't care if you're doing math, and so I don't know how you apply math because I don't understand math at all. So all you math people in the world, you're awesome. I can't do it. But if you're doing math, do something fun, I don't know, what do you do in math? I have no idea. How do you make math? But whatever it is, there's something you do. Anybody who's been in my class knows we do crazy stuff. And I think you actually came to my thing last year when I had them throwing paper airplanes. Why in the world would I have them throwing paper airplanes in the class? I was teaching about architecture. And I showed them a picture of an airplane, and I said, okay, the first person that can get it to the wall will get candy. Well, what's really funny is most of the people made paper airplanes because they were looking at a picture of an airplane. And then a couple people just threw crumped up a ball and tossed it, and they won because it's going to go farther, right? And my message was that architecture has to have two purposes. It has to be able to function, but it also has to be pretty. And so just because it made it to the wall does not make it a good piece of architecture. Okay, you guys don't care about that. But the point is, I made it fun. I did something, and I guarantee those students, if they remember nothing else, they remember the airplane and the message behind the airplane. See what I'm saying? Lisa Dunn is brilliant for that kind of stuff. I absolutely have to give her kudos on that, because every time she does something, whether people show up or not, she always has some kind of illustration. I still remember the puzzle one. That was, what, a year ago, right? I still remember it. My 10%, it's still there because she did that, right? Authentic leaders show to others that they genuinely desire to understand their own leadership to serve others more effectively. We are servant leaders, right? We're not just teachers. We're leaders in the classroom. We're teaching, because what is a leader? Leader is somebody that follows, right? People follow them. And don't we want the students to follow in our direction, to go where we're trying to take them in that journey that Dr. Stanton just so perfectly set up for me? So is it about the student, or is it about the teacher? That's what we have to determine. Learning is not something to get. A lot of times people think, well, I wish they'd just get it. In too many ways, or too many cases, we let me try this again. In too many cases, we view learning as something that is done to people. We think we can get an education or get people trained. Learning is a process of experiences, reflection, and practice. Students learn not by being told, but by having experiences and then reflecting on them. So you have to make it an experience, whatever that is. And we're going to get into that really deep in a second. Okay, someone tell me where they were. September 11th.
On my way to a prayer meeting.
On their way to a prayer meeting.
I was at Janet's Cafe.
Janet's Cafe. Okay, cool.
I was in class about to give a test.
Okay, who else? Anybody over here?
Laying in bed because I'm sleeping.
Okay. Wow, that's fun.
I was at Dallas Seminary
Walked in
sleeping.
and
Dallas Seminary sleeping. Anybody else? Remember where they were? Yeah.
My back was out and I was laying on the floor in my living room.
Awesome. Good time. The two of you had just the best time on that day. Anybody else want to give me one?
at the gym.
At the gym. Okay. Now, where were you September 1st, 2001? Come on, Lisa, where were you on that day? No idea. No, nobody? Why do you recall 9/11 and not 9/1? Something happened. Something significant. Experience, right? You had an emotional response. Everybody in here have some sort of emotional response to that day. How could you not, right? If you aren't, you need to probably go move to Canada. There was something about it that absolutely was emotional. Yes, ma'am.
There was also a lot of replaying.
Yes.
Weeks, months, and even years now.
Yes, and I'm going to talk about that in 2 seconds. Yes. We discussed it with our friends. We went around, we were talking about it. I was actually working at San Diego Christian back then in the admissions office, and what we did was watch, they brought in a TV monitor into the admissions office. You guys remember where APS was before we moved? That's where I was. And they brought a monitor into that classroom, and we sit there and stuffed admissions envelopes while we watched the computers. That's what we did, because we were watching all the news and for days and days. And we discussed it, and we talked about it, and we processed it. We reflected on it, right? We couldn't help it. We were going to bed at night. We were thinking about it. We were processing. And repeat, as she just pointed out. It was everywhere. It was on the news. It was in our discussions. It was everywhere. Can that emotion be duplicated? Now, Cheryl and I actually had a conversation about this the other day. She says, well, you can't duplicate that. I would beg to differ, because Fred Blackburn is a king in duplicating emotion. I give him kudos. He's like, oh gosh, please don't talk about me. But I'm going to anyways. Everything I've ever heard about anybody who's ever taken your class has got an emotional response to how you do your classes. They come out, and I've had students call me and say, he's an atheist. Yes. Now, yes, whatever, right? Now, keep in mind, emotion is not just happy. Emotion has so many different faces to it. They can be mad at you. They can be sad about what happened that day. I actually tell a whole story in my class. It's my personal testimony. I share it every year in my humanities class because it goes with what we're talking about. And every year students come to me, thank you, Mrs. Mendoza, so much for sharing that. It changes my perspective. And now it's a life change. It's not just a lesson or a lecture. It's something that will change them for life. And isn't that what we're here to do, is to change lives? And so you can duplicate it. You just have to make it something worth talking about. And if they're doing something, they can have some sort of emotional response to it. If you have a really good discussion, like planned for that day, I bet you Elizabeth Stanton's got some great discussions in her classes. She teaches psychology. Psychology is awesome. I have a human development major from here, so I love psychology. Great discussions. Those are easy. I know sometimes psychology is a little easier. Bible probably has some great discussions because Bible's easier. Well, I don't know how. History, you start getting into some of those emotional times in history. Yeah, you can have that. I don't know about aviation. You guys tell me. Is it emotional? I mean, I'm sure it can be, right? If they don't get that license, it's very emotional. So how do babies learn? Let's talk about this for a second. They see by illustration, right? They see us walking. They see us, picking things up. They see us pick up something and say, apple, whatever. They see by illustration. By doing, application, they actually do it. They start trying to stand up and they fall down. I don't know if anybody's had small children, but that is the worst time in your life. That and potty training, right? Those are the two worst. I don't know why I did that, but by hearing, they hear us discussing things with each other, and so they start to get the words and the vowels and the symbols ourselves, right? And repetition. They do it again and again. Even if they fall down, they get back up and they try it again. And we give them praise. We give them that emotional response. Yay, good job, you did it. That's how babies learn. Guess what? Even when you're a little person, all the way up to a big person, we still learn the same way. Anybody who's taught language knows that the best kind of teaching of language is just doing it, right? Anybody who teaches computers, same thing. The best way to learn is just by doing it, not being by told how to do it. Okay, little kid, talk. See me, hear me talking? Now you do it. No, we show them how. We get them involved. We work with them. Spaced repetition is a learning technique where you don't learn something in just one sitting. You're exposed to information periodically over time. So how do young adults learn? Illustration, discussion, application, repetition, and emotional response. Like I said earlier, you have to make them care. This is a generation that does not care. They are coming here for one reason and one reason only. All the studies I'm reading right now about this wonderful millennial generation is if you cannot give them a job, they don't want your degree. Which means they don't care about English. They don't care about math and science and history. Those subjects do nothing for them in their brain. Matter of fact, Kate was just telling me the other day she had a student that she kicked out of her office because he was being so belligerent because he didn't understand why he had to take an art history class. Why should I do that? It's not going to help me be whatever he was going to be. But we know as educators that all of that makes them a well-rounded person. And they need those things. So we just got to give them a reason to care about those things. So, illustration. That can be stories, visual aids, anything you can think of creative. I like to throw suckers at people. Anybody who came to my thing the other day, the funnest one, and I won't say who it was, but there's an elderly lady that teaches for us, and I tossed a sucker at her, and it went down her shirt. I was like, that was, okay, we'll just keep moving. But I do whatever it takes to get them paying attention, because that's half the battle, if they're paying attention. Then, we got to tell them why. Why do they need to know this? It's got to apply to their life, and it has to apply to their career. And they might think, well, why in the world do I care? I always tell them when I used to teach English, I would say, I know that you probably think this is just an English class, I just need to get a grade and get out of here. But if you do poorly in my class, you're going to do poorly in other classes. So you need to learn it here. And that's what I would tell them, first day of class. It's about me helping you be successful in everybody else's class, not even about my class. And we have to give them a reason why they should be listening to it. Discussion. Let them process it together. Have them break up in groups. The studies are showing, everything I'm reading is showing that people learn so much better in a group-based discussion than they do if you're just talking at them. So give them a chance to actually talk about it. Repetition. Ask, what's one thing they need to know? You don't need to ask them what's 50 things they need to know. You need to ask, what's one thing? If they walk out of my class this semester, if there was just one thing they need to know, what would it be? And that's what you're going to be teaching to the entire semester. It needs to be repeated over and over and over. So if nothing else, they can walk away. I was in Bob's class, and I learned this one thing. Okay? Preachers have the one-point sermon. You guys heard of that? It's really big, huge. All these people, and I don't know that I need to read them all for you, but all these pastors have different ways of calling the one-point sermon. The reason why they have that is because they want their congregation members to walk out with at least 1 point. And you need to do the same thing. They're not going to remember 90% of it. So give them at least 1% to walk out of and remember throughout the week. And then last, an emotional response, give them something to chew on. The best thing, I know we love it, when they're downstairs and they're in the cafeteria and they're still talking about it. I guarantee they talk about Fred Blackburn's class in the cafeteria. I guarantee it. It's just one of those things because they've given them something really powerful to talk about. So, let me ask you a question. What was your favorite class in college? Who can tell me? Who had a favorite class in college? Yes. Ooh, okay. Why did you like scuba diving? Why did you like that?
Put me in a world I've always wanted to live in.
Okay, so you were doing it, right? I mean, it wasn't just, how would you have liked scuba diving if you sat in a chair and the professor talked about scuba diving for 15 weeks? Yes, that was the boring part of the class. Yes, exactly. Thank you for being the best illustration possible. All right. Everybody think for a second of the class that you really enjoyed at San Diego Christian College. Oh, I don't know why I just said that. I was at San Diego Christian College. You weren't all. At whatever college you went to, think of a class that you just really enjoyed for a second. And ask yourself, why did I like that class? Anybody want to tell me why? Yeah.
The teacher was passionate about the subject.
Absolutely.
It was transferred.
Passion absolutely works.
I had a professor who actually shared the words, kind of a sign of what you're saying. He said, I'm not a Papa Bird dispensing worms. This is a transformative journey for all of us. And it might be very it was a completely new experience for me. I've always been in a traditional classroom, 500 students, the person talks, you retain it, you go home and forget half of what you heard. So it was the first time I heard that transformative journey.
Awesome. Yes.
I had a relationship with a teacher.
You had a relationship. And you know what? Yeah, that does sound really funny, but no, I don't think that's what he means. All right. Yes, in a healthy way, yes. Yes, a relationship, and statistically, San Diego Christian, I'll get to you in just a second. San Diego Christian College is known for their relationships. So yes, you do have that going for you. If you notice the things I read, nothing said, I wish they were more relational. I wish they liked me. You didn't hear any of that stuff. That's not what they're talking about. That's not the problem they have with us. They have problems with that hour that you're talking at them. They want more with you. They want to experience it more with you. Yes?
International business. The professor was from North Korea, and being a Korean, I made the mistake of asking him if he was Japanese.
Oh, no.
But we became very good friends after that. I apologize, I didn't know they had that. I must have been
Well, there's the emotional connection.
And that was a great class. A lot of things were mentioning, personal experiences that involved the difference between North and South Korea.
And they do care about your experiences, believe it or not. I mean, if you didn't have any, they probably would tune you out because they think you're dumb, and why should I listen to them? I mean, they care about those experiences. It's just how it's delivery. It's delivery systems and how you portray it and make it exciting for them. And the question I have for you, and you don't have to answer this, is are you doing that in your classes? Are you doing the way you like to learn with your students? A lot of times it's just easy to default to lecture. It's easy to default to just teaching to the test. And honestly, if that's why you're teaching, you probably need a new profession, because we're about life changing here at San Diego Christian College. That's our mission. That's why we exist. Truth, purpose, impact, right? And so we need to make sure that we're doing that. All right, so here's where I actually give you an acronym to hold on to, my one thing. Here we go. Life. Learn. You can do it through lectures, just don't make that all you do, okay? And you can share stories and illustrations. So learn through lectures and stories. Interpret through discussion, okay? So that's actually, discussions are great because you get to find out, are they really getting this? Or are they totally off base? And trust me, I had those moments where I'm like, wow, that's a really interesting answer. Hold on, let's see what else other people might think. So you get to actually interpret how they're doing. Feel through illustration. Give them something that just makes them experience it and feel it. And illustrations are all different levels. Jesus, if anybody, understood illustration. right? Didn't he give them every time he told a parable? So why aren't we doing, like, following Christ's example and using illustrations? And then lastly, engage through application. They've got to do it. You heard it. It was almost everybody saying, I just wish I could do something with it. You know? So don't just make them sit there for, 15 weeks. Get them up doing something. And even if you're not ready the first couple weeks to do that, build it into your syllabus somewhere where we're going to do something really fun. I make them go, when we're doing architecture, I don't know why I keep picking on that one, maybe because I have a lot of stuff to do in that one, but I make them go around the campus and look at the architecture of the campus and come back and tell me about it. How fun is that? They get it to be out of class for 15 minutes walking around the campus together. But it's still fun for them, and they're going to remember that. So get them up. All right. 61% of students said learning would improve for them if their homework were more interactive. 61%. The same number said learning would be more effective if they could exchange instant feedback with their professors. So using technology, I know a lot of you are still kind of a little skeptical of technology, but we really need to use it, which I'm going to make a shameless plug right now, because that's what I get to do in my position, is we have technology for you. Students really like it. And when they go into one class and they see it's all set up, and then they go into another class and it's empty, which I had someone do that recently. They had been in APS classes, and then they took a traditional class, and they went in there and they went, there's nothing in here. It was very confusing for them. And we as an institution, we want to look innovative. We want to look like we're doing really well. So my shameless plug is, before you leave, I do have this wonderful sign-up sheet where you can put your name, the course, and the course number on here, and I will go insert your stuff into there, where all it is each week, 1 through 15, has an assignment and a reading assignment. And all you have to do is take it right from your syllabus and put it in there. And guess what? It's already linked to the grade book. It's already linked to the Dropbox. So all you have to do is put the content in there and change the grade number. Bam, you're done. So it's super easy, and I've already done the work for you. So, and if you're confused, guess what? I will so help you. So anyways, before you leave, I'll leave that there. Feel free to sign up on it. I already know a couple people have done that. And I think, Steve, I might have put the wrong one in yours, so I need to redo yours. John, I just did John DePriest yesterday. He's got both of his classes ready to go with his in there. So he's going to play with it over the weekend. This is the perfect time to grab it because you can do it over the weekend. And if you have problems, even though I do a lot of stuff for APS, I'm still here for you. All right. It says, no common sense, but a wonderful test taker. Be careful about teaching to the test. You heard them saying it. I don't mind a test. I don't mind a quiz. I just don't want that to be it. So be careful about that. If you're just teaching to the test, you're not teaching the most effective way. Do tests really assess what a student has learned? Or do tests exhibit a student's ability to memorize facts? Learning occurs best when new information is incorporated gradually into the memory store rather than when jammed in all at once. Stress can impair cell communication in the brain's learning and memory reason. What happens when I tell a student they're going to have a final? Instant. They're stressed. So guess what? Now they're going to go home with stress, which breaks down anything that helps you memorize. They're going to try to cram it into their short-term memory, and then they're going to output out of their short-term memory, and then everything they just crammed for is gone. So if you think that just giving a midterm and a final is the way to go, your students haven't learned anything. I hate to say it, but it's just true. We do not learn best by memorizing facts about the subject, but reality is communal. We learn best by interacting with it. A good test is a good tool for helping assess a student's progress, but it is only a tool, an indication, not the final word. Why do we default to tests? Well, sometimes they're easier to assess, right? Sometimes they're easier to grade. We can't make it about what's easiest for us. We have to make it what's best for them. And I know that's hard, especially when you guys are like, oh my gosh, classes are starting next week. But it's just a reality that I personally am like really grabbing hold of. Last year I did something crazy. And it is crazy, and I know most of the room would be like, ooh, I wouldn't want to do that. But I did it, and I loved it. Is I let them create their own final. They had, and what's funny is people still missed questions. But it was great because I got to see how they processed the information. And it was just wonderful because I said you had to have at least something from every, because we do it by genres in humanities. So they, dance one week and, architecture and then painting or whatever. There's something every week. So I said you had to have at least 2 questions from every genre, and then they had to have 1 essay question. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. These tests were beautiful. I mean, they were just as good as if I could have done them. And we're talking like 50 students. And they all did great. Like I said, they still missed a couple, which told me, okay, they did not process that information right, which is, it's good for me to know that for the future. Maybe I need to, redo those topics or whatever. Yeah, it wasn't a Scantron, but boy, did they learn something. And isn't that why we're here? So here's different ways that you can actually assess learning without just doing a test. Illustration, let them demonstrate what they're doing. In my English 1 class, back when I used to teach that, they had to get up at the final semester and they had to teach for 10 minutes what they thought a new incoming freshman should know about English. That was so awesome to see how they processed that information. Sometimes it was almost comical, but it was really, really cool because I got to see if they really did understand it. Application, let them show they can apply it to their life. Like I said over and over, they've got to be able to do that. So in some of those more science-based kind of things, let them do a project that shows that they can actually demonstrate it. Discuss them, let them present, with questions. Repetition, have them do it more than once. Do it at midterm, do it at final, make sure they're getting through it, whatever. And then sometimes you just got to ask them to go a little bit deeper. Test are very surface. You want to go deeper, you got to do something more. Sometimes an essay at home or even a take-home test are more powerful than a test where they cram in classroom. Take-home tests and my personal, they all know I love a pop quiz. Because a pop quiz, there's no stress, there's no trying to go memorize facts. They just have to show me what they know. So I'm more prone to give a pop quiz and then some kind of illustration at the end of the year. All right, leadership is a social relationship in which people allow individuals to influence them towards intentional change. And that's what I think you guys are. You are leaders doing a social relationship to try and change students' lives. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. I would say that means you are a leader. So my question to you guys is there anything that you guys need to be more effective? And just so you know, I've just changed my topic just recently. I just feel like I need to do this, and one of the things that I'm actually switching my topic to a little bit is to be more effective for first-year faculty. I feel like first-year faculty are not prepared to teach, and so actually my dissertation switching, all the stuff I'm presenting will be in there, but it's going to be more geared to, are we preparing first-year faculty to be in the classroom? And I just feel like that's a big need because I don't think we do. So you'll be hearing more about that, I'm sure, down the line. But anything you guys can think of that can be, and this is your chance to tell. Dr. Caprice is sitting right there. Is there anything that you feel that would make us more effective? Yes?
I've got feedback from some of my faculty that they once had evaluations given to them, but that was a thing in the past. I don't know if that's for all classes or what happened.
That may be a departmental thing because I get mine every year from Sarnowski's. Yeah, so it might be departmental because I know.
It's not because we do evaluation. The department student evaluation.
Yes.
See?
The faculty said they once.
Maybe they don't know what it is.
Okay, so it's just that whole person.
Yeah. Or maybe they didn't emphasize to their students that they didn't do that.
Some of the places I've taught, they require the students to do evaluations before the grades were released, and they'd be anonymous, of course.
I know that one year Lundy had us do it in the last week of school, right? Wasn't that? And didn't it go up like percentage-wise on people that actually did them that year? Because we did them in the classroom. Yeah, and then actually, you guys could probably say that in your class, bring your laptop on this day. I've done that before. Just bring your laptop on this day and do them in class, and that would probably help. So.
Yeah, every class gets evaluated.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting to, I don't know how this would happen exactly, but to kind of have like a database or an idea pool. 'Cause
Ooh, I
I'm
like that.
not an ideas person, and in the field of history, like every class I've ever taken, it's lecture, read, write, research. Like that's what we do in our field.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that doesn't that doesn't translate to students, but I don't know how to come up with like, I can ask discussion questions and whatnot, so I would love, I don't know if there are resources, like, I tried to get some books on different ways you can.
Can I look into that for you? Because that's actually something that would fit right in with what I'm trying to do. So let me look into that, and then I'll actually get back to you about
Because I
that.
like incorporating it, I just, like, I actually, for my law class, I actually went online and Googled. And I found this project that some guy had done, like, this whole series of projects, and it's fascinating, and I'm so excited to incorporate it, but I could never come up with the idea on my own, so.
And I think collaboration is really important. I know Lori's dissertation is going to be on community, and I know that her stuff is more towards the APS world, but there's no reason why that can't be built, I would think, in the traditional world too, and something like that would be really cool. So, yeah.
There's something called the Teaching Professor newsletter that you can get every week, and they discuss different ways. And there's also on your iPhone, you can get tip of the day from the Teaching Professor. And there's some things that won't apply to you, but there's some great things on there too.
Okay.
So
That's really good to know.
Just go into Teaching Professor and you can sign up for the newsletter that'll come to your email every week.
Okay. Did you catch that, Nolly? The teaching professor? Okay.
And then there's a conference too in the spring that Debbie and I went to, and then
I think she wants me to go to that with her. Her and I have been talking. She's.
They're also doing a one-day workshop going along with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Debbie's like mentoring me in my project. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's amazing what you can find by just Googling. That's our culture today. Just Google it, you got your answer. And like, I've Googled what are creative assignments for Old Testament, New Testament, Gospels, Genesis, stuff like that. There's just stuff out there you can find like Nolly found. And it's just like, wow, that's cool. I'm going to do that.
It's very cool.
So you didn't always go to a seminar and spend money and buy a book. You can just Google it.
Just Google it. That was in some movie. It was like, just Google it. That's awesome. All right. I have one assignment for you because I can't let you out of here without doing a quick assignment, right? So find one or two people. If you're sitting next to somebody or whatever, like there's 3 there, you guys could all team up. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to find these 3 things. If a student can learn just one thing, you only get to teach one thing the entire semester, what would it be? What is a discussion or an illustration that could demonstrate that? And what sort of emotional trigger could you actually do? So find a partner, discuss accordingly. Go.